I want to thank you all, first of all, for coming out on this beautiful San Francisco winter day. We're delighted to be here in Chinatown, and thanks that all of you came out. There's going to be some noise during this event because this is a very busy street, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this project. We're here today. My name's Ed Riskin. I'm the Transportation Director with the SFMTA, and thank you, boss. And we're here today to mark yet another important milestone in the steady, continued progress that we're making for the future generations of San Francisco in this critically important project, Phase 2 of the T3 Light Rail, otherwise known as the Central Subway. It is a project that's very important for building capacity to move San Franciscans in the future, but it's also very important or has benefits for current generations of San Franciscans, and that benefit comes in the form of jobs. And you can't mention the word jobs around this town these days without thinking of our great Mayor Ed Lee. So without further ado, I want to ask Mayor Lee to come up and say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed Riskin. Thank you for your great leadership at MTA as well. You know, we'd be drier if the subway was built. We'd be right here. But I'm looking forward to it for the work that is about to happen. But right behind me, you see this wrap, and I can't be prouder of our MTA because they're moving on this as scheduled with the funding that's been intact. And I want to thank them too because they've been working really hard with our neighborhood. We have Sue Lee from the Chinese Historical Society here today. She's got artists and the sense of history of old and new, and it's reflected right behind me with the vision that we have, what the station will be looking like, but also the sense of history that this represents, not only in transportation, but for this community. David Chiu represents the modern San Francisco as the board president, also as our supervisor in this district, and of course, clearly the Chinese American supervisor for this District 3. And I've been very thankful to him in working with the whole city family, with my office, and working with Chairman Tom Nolan and Ed Riskin and the whole team at MTA and all the different communities to make sure this continues to happen. As you know, we had some challenges with Central Subway, but we straightened them out. And so today, as part of this announcement unveiling these steps forward, we continue to get really good news from our partners in the federal government. And today, again, we earned the highest ranks for this Central Subway and all of the different federal and state agencies in transportation, right up to President Obama's administration, to have set $150 million in his budget for this particular transportation, the Central Subway. That adds to the green light that we've gotten through the notice to proceed with the tunnel contract that is essential to this. And then today, the unveiling here, this wrap is going to be here towards the end of this year, Ed, when we anticipate the demolition of this building. But you also need to know the little story behind this is how well our MTA has been working with all of the elements of our community. Because there's a little story here that I've been paying a lot of attention to, simply because of my background as an attorney who used to represent low-income tenants in Chinatown. There were some 19 households that lived above the floors of this building. There's some 8 business establishments, small businesses, that used to be in the front here today. And while they're physically gone here, what doesn't go unnoticed with Supervisor Chiu and I is the way in which there were solid communications with those businesses, those business owners, with their employees, with those 19 households, to get them to understand and to agree that they had to temporarily relocate themselves. And they've done that. They've done that without lawsuits, without protests, because we've taken care of their needs. And I need to thank the MTA for this, because we've had other projects in our city's history where the relationship with the impacted community wasn't as smooth. And so the smoothness of this is really to the credit of the whole MTA family working in concert with our community-based agencies like CCDC, CAA, all these wonderful agencies that came together at a very early stage, identified resources that had to happen to make sure that the quality of life was going to be treated as importantly for people who were beginning to be displaced temporarily out of this. And we are going to find permanent homes for all 19 households. They are in temporary places right now, but we have assured them and they trust us to find their permanent homes, and we're going to do that. And we've gotten temporary relocation for all the businesses. So that's as important as announcing that we're forging ahead with a $235 million new subway station in Chinatown. That'll be matched with another station on Union Square, then another station at Moscone, then another station at 4th and Brandon. All part of a $1.5 billion project that's going to be invaluable to connecting up the whole city. So I'm here today to not only reveal this latest chapter, but to kind of congratulate everybody for doing it really well up to this point and utilizing our federal relationships to do it well. I need to thank President Obama, Minority House Leader Pelosi, certainly Senator Feinstein and Boxer, all of our state government entities that have been with us from the day in the beginning. I would like to say there's no stopping us now, but we have to get reviewed every step of the way, and we're glad to do that because we have the team together. We've done everything right. We're moving forward on it. The bid for this particular station is already on the street. There is, in fact, a bid, the bidders conference that will be held next week. And then the rest of the 3 stations that I just announced, the advertising, those bids go on throughout this year, paced, I think, every 3 months, every 2 months to get them out as well. And so we're on a very good pace to complete this. This is the movement I've been waiting for. I think this is the strongest indication. It gets stronger every time we are out here to announce it. But today it's about thanking the community and working with us. They've never lost faith. We'll do it this right. And I get to thank the Board of Trustees, the Board of Directors for our MTA, and Chairman Nolan, thank you for your great leadership on this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The mayor has been a steadfast supporter of this project since its inception, and without that kind of leadership at City Hall, we wouldn't be here today. The board president, who happens to represent this district, has also been a strong supporter of this project from the start. And I want to remind folks that every single action that the Board of Supervisors has ever taken with respect to the Central Subway has been approved on an 11-0 vote. And there's not a whole lot of things maybe we can say that sail through with that kind of track record at the Board of Supervisors. So it speaks to the citywide importance of the Central Subway, but it definitely brings very specific benefits and also very specific impacts to this neighborhood here. And the board president, in his role as district supervisor, has been very focused on making sure that we do the right thing, that we did do the right thing and moving the relocating tenants. I want to just acknowledge our real estate director, Kirsten McGarry, her staff, Ken Yee, City Attorney's Office, Robin Reitzis, and our program manager, John Fungi, all of whom worked very hard to make that process that the mayor described as smooth as possible in a way that meets the expectations that President Chiu has set for us in terms of how this project is going to move forward right in the heart of his district. So without further ado, I want to invite up our board president, District 3 Supervisor David Chiu.
Thank you, Ed. I want to welcome all of you this afternoon to a warm, sunny day in San Francisco. And first of all, the mayor has thanked many of you who have been part of this tremendous effort. I want to take a moment to thank Ed Lee for the work that you have done. Years ago, before I was elected to the board, I actually served on the Citizen Advisory Committee for the Central Subway, and I remember having conversations with Mayor Lee when he was just a department head about the work we needed to do together, and it is amazing and wonderful that we are all standing here as part of an announcement on this beautiful building. I also want to just take a moment to say how excited I am around the Central Subway, in part because of my transit trip to get here today. About 40 minutes ago, I rolled out on my bicycle, and I put it away because of the rain. I then waited for a few minutes to try to catch a bus that didn't come. I then waited for a few more minutes to try to catch a cab that didn't come. I then ended up walking about 16 blocks over the hills to get over here today. And I realized that if the Central Subway was in place, we would have a much drier and quicker ride from City Hall and parts all over the city to this place, and I look forward to that. We know that when the Central Subway comes, rather than the 3-mile-per-hour trips that folks have to take down Stockton Street, we will be able to get here from all points of the city much faster. We also know that the Central Subway will connect our communities all over the city, all over the Bay Area, not only bringing millions of tourists to this part of town, but making sure that our families in the Richmond and the Sunset and the Bayview and Visitation Valley will be able to be connected to folks who live here, not just in Chinatown, but on Nob Hill, Telegraph Hill, North Beach, and Fisherman's Wharf. I know there have been a lot of thanks that have been made, but I want to take a moment to thank the community partners that helped to make this happen. We spent a lot of time working with the residential tenants and the small business tenants who are here. I want to thank CCDC and your advocates for working with John Fungi and the MTA staff and others to make sure that the transition is going to be a smooth one. The reason we have this beautiful artwork behind us is because of the work of the Chinese Historic Society. Thank you, Sue Lee. And I also want to thank the Chinatown YMCA for the young people that helped to create these murals. If you look at the story that's told here, and I know Sue Lee's going to say a few words about this, but from left to right, it tells the journey from our past to our present and really to our future, to a beautiful new structure that is going to be built. This is a structure that is being built with generations of struggles and advocacies really represented by all of us here and by the good work of the city, working with the private sector, working, of course, finally with our community. So thank you for being here today. Look forward to future announcements as we go through our milestones. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Chiu. The other part of the leadership behind this project is the MTA board. The mayor referenced some of the work that the board has already done, not just in facilitating these relocations, but in awarding that $233 million tunnel contract, which, as the mayor said, we've issued 2 notices to proceed. That is work that's underway. Next up, the $235 million Chinatown Station that the MTA board has authorized us to advertise, and we hope to, within the next couple of months, bringing that to them to award. As the mayor said, that'll be followed by another $600 million or so worth of construction contracts, all of which are going to be awarded in this calendar year. So it's a big year for the project, and it's a big responsibility that we're asking of the MTA board to authorize nearly $1 billion of construction work to make this happen. The leader in shepherding this project along, both as a board member and as chairman of the board, is Tom Nolan, who we're very happy to have here and would like to ask to say a few words. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I had the opportunity to be in Washington, D.C. earlier this week, and everything the mayor has said and President Chiu has said is exactly right. To be able to represent to the officials in the administration and in Congress that this city is united, the entire political leadership of San Francisco is totally behind this, that means so much. And they all understand that, and they support what we're trying to do. I want to say on behalf of our board how proud we are of this, the board of directors and the staff. The entire agency of MTA has worked extremely hard on this. And we've had a number of critics through the years who've said, do it some other way. My question is, have you ever been to Chinatown? Have you ever actually seen it? What is another alternative? Those alternatives were considered, and this is clearly the best one, and I look forward to the day of the dedication. When this is done, 35,000 more people a day will be able to take this system under the underground, and it'll be better for the entire community all the way around. So on behalf of our board, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. President, very delighted to be here, and thank you. I look forward to all the unveiling and all the ceremonies coming, and most of all, the grand opening in several years. Thank you. Too short.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've heard a lot of talk about partnership. The board president acknowledged CCDC. I want to thank Reverend Norman Fong, who's here, and Cindy Wu, the planning director, great partners in working with us in the community. Andy Chiu, the Associate Director of the Chinatown YMCA. I think they were going to bring a bunch of kids out, but given the weather, I think they just... that's right, it's a furlough day. The school district, the school, my kids are home today. I forgot about that, so that's where they are. But YMCA, we've got a lot of great community partners. The mayor also mentioned we have a pre-bid conference and a meet and greet this coming Tuesday, because we want to also bring jobs to the community, and we want to make sure that the community has access to jobs. So we're doing outreach to small businesses, to local contractors, to disadvantaged businesses, to make sure that everybody gets some of the benefit of this great work that we're doing. The beautiful work behind you was actually put up by a local contractor. It's Ferrari Color and Construction Systems Building Design. We want to thank Ferrari local business for making that, for putting up that wrap. But the final partnership that's brought the historical perspective that's represented and reflected in that wrap is the Chinese Historical Society. So I want to ask and thank Sue Lee and ask her to come up and say a few words.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor, actually. The Historical Society will be 60 years old next year. But this mural is a mural that was made in 1952 on the occasion of the opening of what we would describe as one of the two significant transformational projects of Chinatown. It was commissioned for the opening of Pingyun Public Housing in 1952, and it depicts 100 years of Chinese American history in 1952. And it reads from left to right. I could probably hold a lecture for the next hour on each of the 7 panels. I won't do that. The original is actually donated to the Historical Society by the Pingyun Tenants Association, and it was restored by the Historical Society and hangs in our Wells Fargo Learning Center. So members of the public are welcome to come visit the actual mural at our museum. What I was saying about transformation is really important, though. We are standing in Chinatown, which was rebuilt after the 1906 earthquake and fire. Virtually every building in Chinatown, except for Old St. Mary's Church, was rebuilt after the fire and earthquake. There have been few sites that have been redeveloped since that time, with one exception is this building right here. And Pingyun was truly transformational in that it constructed decent, affordable housing for Chinatown's overcrowded citizens. And the advocacy for that housing, and this is not something that people here don't understand, took 20 years. Advocacy for public housing in Chinatown started in the 1930s. So we're pleased that the artwork has always been part of major public projects. This site will be the new Central Subway station for Chinatown, which is also transformational for Chinatown. Not only will it bring visitors, workers, shoppers to Chinatown, it will provide much needed transportation connections for Chinatown residents to go elsewhere in the city. It's transformational because it will transform this corner. This building was built after the earthquake and will become a new gateway for Chinatown. So it portends really positive things for the future of Chinatown. We're not a stagnant community, and history isn't stagnant. We're constantly making it. So we're really, really proud to be part of this transformational project. Thank you.
Thank you. I couldn't have said that better. We appreciate and acknowledge and respect and honor the history of Chinatown, of our city, and by celebrating the installation of this wrap today, a big step forward in the progress of this project. We're honoring that. We're keeping the site looking good in the process, and doing our part to keep Chinatown as strong and vibrant as it has been for 100 years. And this is a transformational historic project. We're honored to be able to participate in it and bring this great change to Chinatown and to San Francisco. So with that, were concluded. There's more information about the project at centralsubwaysf.com, and want to thank you all and our dignitaries for joining us today. Thank you.
Campaign.